What's perfect, Linda? Okay, there we go. That was yours. Now it's mine. Okay. Awesome. Welcome to the Finding Your Purpose Summit, where we're helping you to tap in and find your purpose so that you can live the rest of your life on purpose instead of on accident. Our next speaker today is Susannah Dawn. Really excited to introduce her. Her talk is about the importance of being the authentic you. We have had this theme about authenticity that has been kind of threaded throughout the conference. And the reason for this is because authenticity is such a huge piece in life for us to find our purpose. So Susannah, I'm excited to hear you talk about this topic. So here's what Susannah's bio, one of the quotes she has is, "I'm not what I used to be, yet I am who I've always been." I'm not who I used to be, yet I am who I've always been. This is a quote that Susannah gave us, and I wanted to share that with you. I'm going to drop it in the chat for those who weren't able to write it down fast enough, because that's just a really great quote, Susannah, and thanks for sharing that. So Susannah entered 2022 with a total reinvention and now looks at business and life from a vantage point set beyond labels, beyond boxes, those places in which our fears work hard to hold us back from being our authentic selves. A motivational speaker, storyteller, and business consultant, Susannah Dawn no longer fits the proverbial box and never did, and now works to help people and organizations looking to grow to find their own way beyond boxes. Susannah is a contributing author in Action Takers Publishing's upcoming book, Never Give Up, which is launching soon in 2023. And Susannah, I'm going to remove myself from the screen here. I'm going to ask you, can you see me right now?
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Awesome. So I'm going to give you like a 5-minute warning, and you got it. Take it away. Can't wait to hear what you have to share.
Thanks. Let me pull up the screen share. And you ever have those moments where you know something's there and you can't find it?
I have that all the time, Susannah. That happens all the time, especially on Zoom. Zoom hides things from us, right?
Yeah, it hides everything from us. Let's find that again.
Let's see what Susannah, Stephen says. Susannah Dawn is wonderfully, just keep doing your thing there, Susannah, while I feel some space there. Okay, Susannah Dawn is wonderfully talented. As someone who works in a library, it's an honor to know her. And then Nicole says, Susannah Dawn, you are amazing. Okay, so you've got it on your screen there? Awesome.
Got it. And just move this out of my way because I want to see what I'm doing. So yes, I'm going to talk about the importance of being the authentic you, and a little bit about me. I do a lot of stuff. Speaker, author, I was a US Army officer, reinvention maven, authenticity storyteller. This is all stuff that I do. It's all stuff that I just have a passion to do and help others with it. The thing about what I'm going to start off with is, and we've heard other people talk about this, where they've dealt with trauma in their childhood. You talked about it too, Linda. And this is something that I've dealt with. I'm not going to go into the whole story, although my story is part of where that motto comes from. What happened for me is essentially by the age of 7, I had been rejected by my parents. I was not able to be my authentic self, and instead was being told who I was, what I was, told to niche down. And I found that I couldn't do that. I'm not the type of person who can really niche down into a box. And that's really what it felt like to me. Every time people told me who I was, what I was, I felt like I was being boxed. And the more that I'm boxed, the less that I can be who I am. And this is something that so many of us have to deal with. When we can't be our authentic self, that means we're hiding something, whether it's being neurodiverse, maybe it's having a mental health issue. It's an accent. You're not comfortable having an accent that doesn't fit the local regional accent. So we hide this stuff and we build these walls that keep us from being our authentic self, who we are. And once we can step out from behind that wall, because that wall takes so much of our energy, so much of who we are, and doesn't let us fully engage with other people. And that's another part of life. You want to be able to engage with people, but if you're afraid they're going to find out something about you, then you're not as likely to engage. You're not you. And instead of being authentic, you're hiding. And the whole purpose of being authentic is that you're no longer hiding these aspects of yourself. You're no longer hiding yourself. What I found is it takes an awareness to get over our fears, to overcome them. And these are the fears that are keeping us from being our authentic selves. These are the fears that keep us in boxes. These are the fears that tell us, as we are wanting to go out into the world, we want to be ourselves, we want to engage with people, but fear holds us back. Maybe it's imposter syndrome, and the fear is telling us every reason why we should not go beyond our box. And it only tells us lies, except for those grains of truth that are interwoven in those lies. So that if we look outside the cracks of these boxes, we see the truths of the lies, and then it's supposed to keep us in. Yet the fear is just keeping us in the dark. It's keeping us in the shadows. And what I talk about a lot is gaining that awareness that what we're being told isn't the truth, and then taking control of our fears. Because the most important thing, when you take control of these fears, when you own your fear doesn't own you. And the main piece of this, what's most important, is once you own that fear, you control who finds out about your story. You control what you tell, when you tell, where you tell, how you tell, why you tell anybody, and most importantly, if you tell. Now, another piece of this is forgiveness, because I've already talked, like in my story, the pain of the past, and I've heard so many others talk about the pains of their past. This is a lot of the reason why we hide ourselves, because the past is holding us back. It's because somebody did something, whether it's a person outside of us or whether it's us ourselves. Yet, if we can sit back and forgive, that forgiveness is for us. So some people will say, I'm not going to forgive that person because of what they did to me. That person probably doesn't even know what they did to you, or they don't care about what they did, and they're living their life very merrily, and we're stuck. If you can forgive, it just removes this weight from the past that's holding us back. We're no longer anchored to the past. Now, another thing I talk about with this, as you're forgiving, as you're looking to go beyond the box, it's the role of reinvention. Because so often in our lives, we're reinventing ourselves. Think about how you want to go back to school. You want to start a new job. You want a new job in the company that you're in. You're looking to take opportunities, but that fear is still holding you back. The reinvention, being able to reinvent yourself, even if it's as simple as you want to go out more. People have talked about being more exercise, being more physically fit. That can be small steps. that's still reinvention because you're doing something other than what you're doing now. You're doing something other than what's keeping you stuck. When you can step out, reinvention can make such a big difference in your life because you're able to put your dreams in place. You're able to look at what is beyond these boxes are holding you. And instead of seeing the lies, you see the truth. You see how much you can do out there. The fear is trying to hold you back. And I'll keep going back to it because it's what keeps us in the dark so often. When I talk about, we can talk about reinvention and being able to make these changes. Let's talk about that woman who's dealing with imposter syndrome. A way of looking at reinvention is to say, okay, you feel like you're a fraud in this job. Look back at where you started and follow the red thread to where you are now. Look at what you've accomplished to get to this position that you're in. The more you think about this and you see what you've accomplished, you start realizing that, yes, you're in the right place. Now, also, if I go deeper into imposter syndrome, it's because we're looking at what the other people who are in similar roles are going through, and we see them killing it, and we're having a hard time getting through it. What we don't see is their struggles. We don't see that person who's getting ready for a divorce, their marriage is falling apart. We don't see that person who's worried about their kids, something's going on. They have their own worries. Sure, maybe they look really good on the outside from your perspective, and you probably look the same to them. So all of this reinvention is to look at your position, your role. How did you get to where you're at? And realize that where you're at now, you look at the next job, you're not ready for the next job or the job after that. You're ready for job number 3, 4, maybe even number 5 down the road. It's the fear that holds us back and this box that we're stuck in. So one of the ways I look at reinvention as well, one of the ways at getting stuck or getting unstuck, I like to use the example of a movie called Kong, Skull Island, because it has this scene in the middle of it that is just perfect for this. The main characters are walking into this big room. There's paintings all over the walls, and there's no rhyme or reason to what these paintings are doing. But as they walk towards the middle of the room, they see this picture of Kong come to life. That is the goal. That is where you want to go. You're stuck in this spot in the middle. You see the goal, but you don't know how to get there. If you could walk backwards and take yourself out of the box and look at it from a different angle, you'll start seeing how to turn the obstacles into speed bumps. You'll see that there is a path to your objective, to your goal, where you're looking at it straight on. You don't see the nuances. You don't see how to get around things. When you're standing outside, looking in and seeing the big picture, you start seeing that there are paths to get where you want. There are ways to get what you want. And this is all part of that, turning those obstacles into speed bumps, into removing them, or at least making them easier, so that so often people see these obstacles and the first thing they do is, I can't do it. This obstacle, I can't get past it. But you don't have to hit it head on. you can go around it, or once you get to it, you'll realize it's not that big a deal. It's just a speed bump, and you step over it and keep going. So with all of this, as I kind of pull all of this together, there's the importance of being yourself, because that's who you were created to be. You've got a soul that was created to be who you are. Whatever faults you have, it's part of you. But if you can accept them and just live with what you have, know that who you are, be your authentic self, then you can start looking at getting beyond those fears that are holding you back. You can look at, are there people you need to forgive in your past? Are there people who, even in the present, I can give you a story, especially on forgiveness. And I know I'm kind of meandering a little bit, but forgiveness is important. I ran into a situation where I had a conversation with my dad and it went very sour. And we haven't talked since then. But the words that he commented on, the words that he said during that conversation, they were not only painful, they were filled with the worst venom I've ever heard in a word directed at me. The only way that I was going to get over that situation was to forgive him, to accept who he was, and allow myself to heal. And forgiveness does not mean you have to tell them you forgive them, because some of them, they don't think they did anything wrong. Like I said, they're living their life. We're the ones that are stuck with the pain. When we can forgive, when we can let go, all the weight drops off our shoulders and life is so much easier and so much lighter. And that makes reinvention so much easier. Another piece for me is, you'll see these three things at the top of my slides: the butterfly, the eagle, the butterfly. If you're on LinkedIn and if you've ever seen my posts or you see my comments, these three things are very important to me. The butterfly is my own reinvention. The eagle is taking off, it's flying, it's getting off the ground. But that third butterfly, that third one, that has a very significant and important message, and that's the butterfly effect. And I talk about the butterfly effect, and this is all part of reinvention. So many of us want to go back in the past and change something. I don't. I take the butterfly effect as based on a Ray Bradbury story called A Sound of Thunder. And in this story, it's a time travel story where somebody goes into the past and they do everything they can so that nobody can change what's in the past. Yet somebody steps on a butterfly, and when they get back to the future, something is different. If I were to go back and change anything in my past, I would be a different person than I am now. I wouldn't have the friends that I do now. I might not even like that person, when now I can look in a mirror and I love who I see. So the butterfly effect is so important to me because I wouldn't change anything. And it's always interesting when people say, what would you go back and change? What would you do differently? And this is my answer is, I wouldn't change anything. I will still live with the pains that I went through because that made me. And from here, once you're at this point, this is where reinvention steps in. And this is where you make the changes, because you're now. The past of the past, let it go. And there have been others who said this too. Let it go. Be in the present. Be present at the moment, because when you're present now, you can see so much opportunity. So as I kind of put this slide up, this is how you can get a hold of me, because I'm on LinkedIn almost all the time. And then I do have a freebie for to book a 20-minute intro clarity call with me. A chance to find out what it is that you have going on. Is there something that's holding you back? Is there something from what I've talked about that just piqued your interest, or it just calls out to you that says, I want to talk, I want to know more. And to me, the butterfly is so important. That's why you've heard me talk about boxes so much. So here, butterflies escaping the box, it's the same picture that's on my LinkedIn profile as well. Um, and now the question is, how do I oh, there we go, stop the share. So that's a lot of what I talk about is this importance of being who you are. Who did you grow up to be? What have you gone through to get to where you are now? And how do you want to go from here? Don't get stuck in the past. Let's go forward from here. And if anybody's got questions, I mean, feel free to throw them out.
That was fantastic, Suzanne. We got lots of great comments in the chat. I want to just run through some of those. I see Kohila has her hand up. So first of all, we have, let's see, like Kohila says, I forgave. Let me see, somebody's unmuted. If you can mute yourself, that would be awesome. Let's see, I got her covered. Okay, when I forgave, I freed myself and I allowed me to find my purpose, which is such a big thing, right? Is finding your purpose. And she says, I wouldn't change any part of myself either. My life is perfect, as perfect because of my past. And then Stephen says, there's a lot of powerful symbolism in a butterfly. What comes to mind is personal metamorphosis. So true. And then Nicole, your story is so powerful. You're an amazing woman and creative storyteller. Love you to pieces. We got a lot of great comments. If you didn't see any of those as they were coming in, please, Susanna, go look at those as well. But I wrote down a couple things, and this is something I wanted to address, is that I commented that I wonder how many people we are comparing ourselves to, that they are comparing themselves to us. Mm-hmm. Because see, we just don't know what's going on in other people's lives. And so as far as that imposter syndrome, I would love to hear from you. Like, what is something you recommend for people to do when they're experiencing that moment, that brief or long moment of imposter syndrome? What do you recommend that they do?
Again, part of that is just take a look at how they got where they're at and be honest. Don't fall for the traps of, they were just looking for another woman to put into this position because everybody else is a guy. Accept the fact that when you look at what you've accomplished, you look at the things that you've done, you look at what people have said, you not only belong where you are, start looking at those jobs in front of you and realize how far down the road you really should be instead of where you are now. And then just do what you can to let go of the past so that you can be present at the moment and move forward.
That's a great message. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Kohila, are you able to come? I can't bring you up on the stage unless you come on. There we go. Awesome. Let me bring you up here. Kohila, yes, question.
Yes, I was just going to ask about the butterfly, because whenever I felt broken, I was like a bird that lost its wing. Did it come up for you like that when you were allowed able to fly, you got back yourself?
Well,
was it like that for you?
For me, a lot of it was, there's just such a symbolism within the butterfly of that reinvention for me. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I call my journey, is focused on reinvention. And at one point I had 3 butterflies. And it's like so many people too. It's like you could have 3. Everything's in 3s. I don't know why. It's just in 3s. But then I I felt like things were still going sluggishly for me. And so I flipped the middle one into an eagle to start flying. It's like my own symbol to start flying. And it wasn't until last fall when I was talking with somebody, it was in a LinkedIn conversation. And that was the point where I decided that that last butterfly was for the butterfly effect. And I always make sure to explain where it came from, because a lot of people, when they hear butterfly effect, they're thinking a butterfly in Vietnam creates a hurricane in Florida. And it's like, okay, yes, but this ain't it. This is truly looking at the past and letting it go. And so for me, the butterfly, and then there's actually some other things where butterflies have an ability to go through storms in a way that you wouldn't expect. So they have a durability that a lot of people don't quite know about. So it just fits with reinvention. It fits with not holding on to the past and trying to let it go. And I keep learning more and more. For me, it's writing is what's helped me to get over so much of this. I've written a memoir that's supposed to come out next year. I've got this book that I've written for, and I go more into the story in those. And there's a lot of people that know my story, but here there just isn't the time to give
Thank
that,
you.
because I have to do it. I have to do it my way, and it's not a short way to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Great question. And we dropped in the chat the way to connect with Susannah on her LinkedIn. And you offered again, what was it, 20 minutes, a clarity call? Was that what it was?
Yeah, it was a Calendly. I think I'd sent you the link at one point, but I
Yeah,
can
Sally operates all that. I don't know what's going on over there, Susannah.
well, it may not be up there, but I'll send it again. I'll try and send it straight to Sally. And
Yes, send it right to me.
yeah, and there's
Thank you.
Nicole, my sister from the other side of the country.
You got a sister from another mister?
That's basically it. And we're
Awesome.
she's been she's become my bestie. And then Stephen is another one. He's just been a great friend. So some people that I know that they pop up.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. There were a lot of things I got, the rule of the role of reinvention. I loved that. You talked about step outside to see the big picture, because sometimes we're so focused or it's like so tunnel vision. And then you mentioned, forgiveness and then the awareness. And with forgiveness, my dad was in AA when he was 35 or so, I think is when he started going to AA. And he came in and he gave his, there's that one of those steps is about giving forgiveness or going and forgiving, asking for forgiveness or whatever the step is. I don't know. I'm not into AA, but he came around to, I was 16. I was a 16 pig-headed kid. And he came to me to ask for the forgiveness. And I was like, I don't forgive him. I'll never forgive him. This is how I was. And it wasn't until after he was long gone, maybe 5 years after he passed away, that I hit me that it wasn't about me forgiving him. It was about him asking for the forgiveness, because that was the step that he needed to go through. And I just focused, it was all about me. It was all about me. But
Well,
the reality is that he did what he needed to do.
And that's just it. For most of us, we need to forgive. And it was a scene out of actually a Medea movie that is the most powerful one, that talks about the importance of forgiveness is not for the other person, because they may not even know, or if you tell them, they'll get upset because they didn't do anything wrong. And it's like, no, you have to forgive them, because that's when the weight goes off your shoulders.
It's so powerful.
It's getting it off our shoulders. Is we have to take that step.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. Great, just great presentation. Thank you so much for that. And thanks for being in our sphere. The Never Give Up book is coming out soon, and look forward to, having everybody have an opportunity to read your chapter in that book and to see what else you do in the future, because there's so many layers to you. And I've had a pleasure of, talking to you myself one-on-one, and just really great, the messages that you have to share. Make sure you take advantage of that. Take advantage of that 20-minute call with her. Hop on and learn all about her, and then how she can help you to move forward in your life and in your business so you can find your purpose. That's
Oh, and one of the
Live
things
your-
that comes if anybody works with me one-on-one, and one of my newest workshops is going to be power words, which is like a mini vision board.
I love that. Yeah. So if you want to explore that as well, again, make sure you connect with Susannah. Her contact information is in the chat here, and Sally will also drop it. If you're watching us on Facebook, she'll drop it there in the comments as well. So thank you so much, Susannah. Appreciate you. A great presentation. And it's funny because I was listening to you, I was thinking, oh my gosh, she just calms me down, but then I float back up. So really, thank you so much. Great
Thank you for
presentation.
this too.